Well, and it's like you said, cleaning up the showroom for a better customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
Those things matter when you're doing a lot of little things. Those add up faster than doing just one big thing. Hello, and welcome to Small Business Pivots. I'm your host, Michael Morrison, a small business coach who helps guide small businesses from struggle to success. On our podcast, we explore the stories, strategies, and pivots that small business owners have made to build successful businesses doing $1 million and more in annual revenue. Our guest today is Preston Callahan, the owner of Callahan Auto and Diesel, a 24-hour emergency mobile mechanic company and a federal government contractor based in Mesa, Arizona. Preston embarked on his entrepreneurial journey at just 23 years old, armed with a background in firefighting and a vision for success. Preston has transformed his business acumen through continuous learning, from business classes to podcasts and documentaries. His dedication has paid off well, with consistent annual growth of 30 to 100%. As well, his business just surpassed the 13-year mark. Callahan Auto and Diesel serves as the central hub for his operation, which includes mobile service trucks covering the entire state of Arizona around the clock and dispatching teams to support federal government wildfire operations. In a rapidly changing world where opportunities arise from business closures and workforce challenges, Preston is seizing the moment, leveraging his expertise and assembling the right team to capitalize on untapped potential. Let's get to our remarkable guest now and learn the business pivots he made to build a small, grassroots business into a multi-million-dollar empire. All right, small business pivot guest. We have another special guest from Arizona today. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
My name is Preston Callahan. I own Callahan Auto and Diesel here in Mesa, Arizona. So we have a brick and mortar shop. We also have emergency roadside mobile service. Also just became a federal contractor. So we have quite a few things going on.
Very cool. So do you tweet at all by chance?
I don't. There's a lot of things that I'm like, I want to get into. And first step is get on a podcast and start getting into this environment.
For sure. Well, on Twitter, I'm not a tweeter as they call them, but on Twitter, they say you have to do like a post within 140 characters. I don't know what it is, but it's short and sweet. So if I were to ask you, or if you were to tweet kind of where your business is today, your life, what would that look like? It could be 1 or 2 words. It could be a sentence. What does that look like today for you?
Insane and fast moving, fast pace.
Wow. So for most small business owners, where we are today is not what our life projects. So I know for 100%. Myself, I was kidnapped by gunpoint by my biological father, and kind of went down that path of adoption and things like that. So any childhood trials, tribulations. I also had a problem studying. I was not a good student. I was not studious. I lacked a lot of self-confidence.
Well, I mean, I had a great childhood. My parents were awesome, but I was a horrible student, absolutely horrible student. But I was good with my hands, and so I was always tinkering. I found out, like, okay, well, I can't get straight A's, but I can fix your car. Brother and sister, they're blessed with the smart brains and the jobs that are inside, not in the heat of Arizona. I knew what I wanted to do as a little kid, and it changes a little bit, pivots. That's where I wanted to do. That's where I wanted to go. I was an Eagle Scout, Boy Scout, and I became an Eagle Scout. So that was a big thing in my life in childhood anyway. But other than that, I grew up around my dad being a jack of all trades and the whole family being handy. And I just kind of took a liking to working with my hands and a little bit of labor. And I found out not a lot of people do that. So
right.
there it goes.
Yeah, especially today. So anything got you motivated about the mechanical world, or it just you like tinkering with things?
Well, to me, it was even today, it's like black magic. Fix something that no one else knows how you did it or what you did, and you made this thing run. In business, you always try to get that win. And it's like in mechanics, and you start working on something, you have that win. Yeah. And, it runs, you get to drive it. It's self-satisfaction, and you move on to the next one.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I am not a mechanic. My dad was a mechanic, and he always made us fix our own cars. So when I was growing up, while my friends were out having fun on the weekend, going to the lakes and stuff, I was at home working on our car. And so he really made me hate mechanic work because every time I would try to do something, I'd got to turn your wrist just like this to get behind that. And then as you pull it out, you like rip your skin off on some sharp metal object. So I just have good memory. So I guess I'm saying thank you for your service, because
absolutely.
Without mechanics, my cars would not run. So because I'm not going to fix them.
And without people with experience like this, we wouldn't have a job or a business. So it's all walks of life.
Exactly. So a lot of small business owners were challenged. Not all of them. I've talked to quite a few that were really good. The kind that I despise, the kind that would study the night before a test only and ace it. And I'd study for weeks and make a C+ or a B-. So I didn't like those kind of people. They always made me upset. But so you're saying you can still be successful even if you don't have that mentality of education, book smarts, things like that. Is any challenges that you faced? Was there any kind of like self-doubts or anything?
Oh, I still have self-doubts, but people like that were a lot more book smart than I am, and went to college and this and this and this. At the end of the day, one thing I can control is I can outwork them. I can work more hours. I can push myself farther and think outside the box and think faster than they can, and so you kind of everyone has weaknesses, and I just tend to latch on to my strengths and I just pile through them and just run them home. And just like you were saying, growing up, I had a lot of friends that went to parties, went here, went there, and I was trying to make a side money on the weekends, fix my own truck. It wasn't the most popular because I wasn't really in the social standpoint, but I mean, you fast forward, I've built myself a better position than they are.
Right.
And so you may lose that part, but things kind of evolve, and it's all about setting goals and setting paths in front of you. And me, one thing, the biggest thing in the business that I kind of had before then is you can't be doing this expecting that pat on the back or people telling you you're doing a good job all the time. You just have people trying to push you down and hate on you and doubt you all the time. Thankfully, I was never that way. I never was really cared about what people thought about me. This is what I was going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I did it. I did it for myself. I did it for my sake. And then deep down, you just kind of show those people up. So that was kind of motivation. So
there was a defining moment when I said, okay, I am going to be an entrepreneur. I was in high school, and the teacher went around the room asking all the kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? Of course, you got the typical teacher, the doctor, and I was one of the last ones sitting in the back of the room, and got to me, and I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I was the only one in the room that said that, about 20 kids or so. Only one that said that. And then she asked, what business would you want to own? And I said, well, I want to own a landscaping company. And one of the most popular kids was in that class. And he said, I wouldn't let you landscape my doghouse. And everybody started laughing. And that was my defining, like what you said, I'm going to show you.
Yep, exactly.
I was like, to this day, that was 30 plus years ago. And I still remember the color of paint on the walls, where I was sitting, how I felt. And sometimes a lot of us, it takes someone like that. I don't know, honestly, if he wouldn't have said that, I may not have been a business or been inspired to actually pursue it.
Yep, absolutely. And run across that all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, we're always getting punched in the face, bloodied nose, as they say. So Did you go to college at all? Or straight into entrepreneurship?
No, I did. It was a community college. I was trying to be a firefighter, so I went for a fire science degree. I worked for the U.S. Forest Service for a couple of years, and when I left that, I was overqualified for every position. When you have a skill, it is nothing against people working in fast food or anything, but I had a skill, so I wasn't gonna. I'm like, I need to utilize my skill. Number one, it was boring to me if I didn't utilize my skill. And so, I couldn't at least keep up to where my standards were. You got to have standards. And so when I was, and I worked about 2 years out of my parents' house, working on cars, and the whole time I was trying to find jobs and apply and those type of things. Finally, my grandpa was out there one day and told me to, I think you can try this. And my mom's been a business owner, entrepreneur, ever since I was little. Secondhand kid store. I didn't really know what the word entrepreneur was. I just thought, okay, you own a business, you're a business owner. And with the struggles I saw with her, that was the last thought in my head to be a business owner. I'm like, this sounds horrible. My kids, I don't want my kids to be doing this, because I had to grow up doing that. You start running out of track and you got to do something. And hey, let's try it out. Let's make it happen. 1 year lease, and let's let her fly. See what happens.
Very cool. So in business, we have stages. How long have you had your business? Your first one?
Since 2010.
2010. So you're over a decade. Congratulations. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Can you define the stages? Because our listeners are either small business wannabe owners, or they're maybe early stage business owners, or maybe they're stuck and they're trying to get to that next level. So for those in those positions, let's run through kind of like the stages that you went through, just to give them an idea, because there's a lot of myths out there, a lot of things that they hear that aren't actually accurate and owning a business. So, and plus, as business owners, we always wonder, am I doing something wrong? Because this is harder than I thought. And it's usually not that they're doing anything wrong. It's usually just they don't know what they don't know. So what was kind of the early stages of your business like?
Well, first of all, I was going to school for firefighting, and so getting into business, I pretty much have a business degree from Google search.
Okay,
you kind of had to figure it out, and so I started my shop. I got the keys to my first location on my 23rd birthday, and so that's sometimes good, sometimes bad, because I haven't, I'm the type that it sounds stupid, but I don't celebrate my birthday because I'm not really happy yet where the business is at. So I always tell people, well, when I celebrate it, you're going to want to be there, because I have a lot of years to catch up on. You never have the skills to run a business. You have to gain the skills in the business. You just have to get things started, get things happening. You don't know what you don't know. And so, but if you believe in yourself and if you give yourself some reachable goals and some just way far out, just stupid goals, at least there's goals in place. And so you have some checkpoints along the way. And so, I mean, when I started, it was a 1 year lease, 1,850 square foot facility, like $900 a month, which at 23, that's a lot of freaking money,
Yes.
And so definitely nerve wracking. So it's like, okay, well, my hours when I first started were 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. I think in 2 years, I took 2 days off, and one of them when I was sick. You definitely, when you start, because I didn't have any partners, no money backing. I mean, I had to get all this money created in my parents' driveway, and so you have to be scrappy. You have to be, I don't know any business that's going to last. When someone has to start from ground up and bootstrap it, you work harder, not smarter, because you don't know how to work smarter until you get things rolling. You know what I mean? You have to learn those things. You have to start seeing, okay, sales tax, my goodness. That was a whole new different realm of stuff I had no idea about. And so I'm like, okay, how do I track this? How do I calculate it? So going Google and, this and that. And so, as you start hitting, some resistance, and or people tell you that there's resistance that you should have been looking at that you don't know, then you have to cross those bridges and keep pushing forward. On the business smarts type of pivot, that didn't happen until probably 5 years ago. 6 years ago.
Good to know. Good to know.
And so that was a long time. I was stuck in that proof of concept mode for a long time. Will this work? Can I do this? What am I going to do? More freaking out about tomorrow, and not, where's my endpoint going to be? Where am I throwing this dart? And so, it took a long time to kind of get my feet from under me and actually kind of give myself credit going, you've got something that works. You've got something that is needed. You're busy. You need to step back and try to fine tune this a little bit. So, because it was just the amount, 100 to 120 hours a week, it catches up to you. But, but once you start getting in that mindset and the mentality, that's all you know. So if you don't work that many hours, you naturally think you're not going to make it. You're not going to do it. And you can't go any further. And so, but hey, to each their own. That's how I did it. And because I didn't really have any mentors. Heck, podcasts like this weren't really this popular. I didn't really know much about them. And heck, when I'm working that many hours, I don't have time to source out, some extra help or master classes or, things. It's like, okay, I don't know anyone that's doing this my mom, yes, she was a reference for me to a certain extent. But it got to the point in business where she had no idea because she never had to cross those herself. And so, because I was trying to, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go big or go home. That's always been my mentality. And, I'm not going to do it just to kind of settle and kind of cruise control it. So yeah, it was a lot of years before I started, kind of sitting back and going, okay, I need to, learning that working in the business versus on the business, that is such a gray line, man. It is so, some people say it's so easy to here to here, but when you're in the pits working, it's kind of like how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Which way you're going to go to get there? What things can you work on and not work in, and so it's a lot of gray area on this. But at the end of the day, there's no wrong way to do business as long as you're moving forward and not staying stagnant forever or coming backwards. So that's kind of why I love it. And even like my business classes now that I take to learn things and whatever, it's not automotive specific, because I learn more things sitting in on people that talk about real estate, people that talk about car sales, and because I'm sitting there nitpicking little things here and there and kind of making my own recipe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's some powerful information for those that haven't quite gotten to that next level or their business is stuck. You mentioned something about working smarter, and I do want to kind of maybe caution business owners because they hear that a lot. Well, see if you agree with this, to work smarter, you have to have money, because to work smarter, you have to streamline some things, which that costs money, automated software, whatever. So there is a time period that you do have to do what you did, which is bootstrap. Like, I don't know how you could ever not do that. I'm sure there's ways around it, but for most business owners, it's the typical story of, I just have to go in there and work. Did you have a family at that time, or when you were doing the 10, 12? Okay,
thank goodness. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't be able to do it with the family. And that's with that whole pivot in business, working smarter, not harder, that happened when my son was on the way. As soon as we found out she was pregnant, I'm like, oh crap!
I got to do something.
It's not like there's a thing where it's like you want to do something, but when you have to do it, I'm like, okay, then I can't operate like this, and have my soon-to-be wife and my kid be supporting me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but sometimes you need those monumental just things to shake your world up a little bit for it to kind of make sense, or kind of shake, kind of reset you mentally and say, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to, your mindset just changes completely.
So would you say that was a pivot? Like, your mindset was a pivot?
Yeah, that was definitely one of them. And, and I would say, especially with kicking up and scaling, because, obviously, when you're a business owner, your first 100,000 mark, you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then you get there, you're like, okay, no, now I have to buy all this equipment and tool up a little bit more to get to the next level. And then the $1 million mark, that's why I love your show, is that $1 million mark is like it's like that extra zero just plays a big part in that whole sales thing. And I was trying to hit it. As soon as that mental psyche just flipped when my son was on the way, it was achievable. Like right out of the gates, it was achievable. And so at that point, that's where it was kind of like, okay, I can do that. Now let's move that goalpost a little bit farther. And let's move it up a little bit farther now. And but yeah, you're right. You have to have the money to back you. So then that makes sense why, in my scenario, why I had to work the just stupid hours just to make it happen. Man, the amount of money it takes to even get computers and software and
exactly.
And but at the same time though, it's not a bad thing, because that's where I learned to punch my numbers. I learned how to backwards calculate things and kind of know the numbers a little bit. Half the time I didn't even know what numbers I had to push, but I was just trying to figure out what the state needed for the sales tax and try to calculate it that way. And then, but it forced me to look at my numbers, forced me to write them down and figure out ways to do it. And then once you finally make that jump up where you're able to get a system to do it automatically, talking about a win where you don't have to do it on paper anymore, and you're like, my God, I'm going in the right direction, because this was horrible. And so because again, you have to get those wins to be able to make you feel better. Because again, everyone's just looking out saying, oh, this is easy. They look at you like they look at a business owner that you have tons of money.
Oh yeah.
You do it naturally, and you're so lucky to be a business owner. And like I tell my employees right now, it's like, especially in the mechanic world, this is the only industry where a good mechanic can be screw you in the morning to your boss and have a job by lunch without even looking for a job. That's how hard it is to find techs. So I tell them all the time is you don't need me to be in this industry. You could start your own shop if you want, but I told them straight up, you don't need me, but guess what? I need you to operate. That's where, just like when you start getting employees, finding the right employees and be able to afford the employees, that's another completely different scale.
You're listening to Small Business Pivots, a podcast created for small business owners who are ready to take their business to the next level. For more small business advice, go to my webpage, michaeldmorrison.com. And while you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Let's get back to our guest. If you were, I know there's probably a whole list of it, but if you were to look back at those years before you actually started scaling, what is one thing you wish you would have known or done differently?
That's a good one, because that can be a whole new different hour-long topic. Yes. But I would say that the biggest one is self-improvement. Learning yourself of why I'm doing this, what am I trying to truly accomplish? Because for the longest time, when you're go and working harder, not smarter, you are making a job for yourself. You're not creating a business, not running a business.
Right.
And that's how it felt to me, because it was like, and then people think you're crazy when you have an argument with yourself, because who the hell are you going to bitch to?
I've had many of those.
Oh, absolutely. And so, but it's between taking care of yourself and looking at the hours and the amount of energy drinks I was drinking and just everything just to stay afloat. There's not having a little bit of breathing time to just sit back and kind of reflect. And because it probably took 5 years in business for me to get to the point I would go out in the shop in the middle of the night by myself and just kind of take in a little bit what I'm doing and kind of do a little self-reflecting type of session. And well, this is me anyway. I get this tunnel vision on and it's in my binoculars and I just go, but I'm not really paying attention to the details around me. Cause that's when you start noticing little things, maybe I can be a little bit cleaner in the showroom when the customers are coming in. Maybe I need to organize this. Maybe this will make me more efficient. My God, I need to clean these tools. This is this is probably slowing me down. Sitting back and really reflecting and not of where your situation is now, situational awareness, seeing where you're at and what you're doing. And then, because once you start the business, you did the hard part of going just 2 feet in the water just to make that jump. Typically, when you do make that jump, you hit the water and you're swimming and treading water.
Yeah,
and
with sharks.
100%. And it's like, my God, there was a life raft sitting right there, and I never even freaking noticed it because I was just trying to stay alive. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
No, you were on a roll. I was like getting into it, and no, you've shared so many nuggets right there. Health is critical. You got to get your sleep. You got to get energy. Your mindset has to be strong because, like you said, no one else cares. And for most business owners that I work with, including their spouses, until they only care when you quit bringing money in to the home, but they don't care about all the problems you have. And I mean, they do have, they're sensitive to it, but they don't understand. I work with so many business owners, and I'm often told that I could almost be a therapist because they have told me more than they've ever told their spouse. And Absolutely. So, you do feel like you're on an island by yourself. Sometimes we have that imposter syndrome. And I'm just sharing these things for business owners to hear that what they're going through, they're not the only one. It's common, it's normal, but you just got to keep plowing through. Just like what you said, you got to keep treading water and keep learning. And I love how you were talking about the just doing a little thing. I hadn't thought about it that way, because usually as business owners, we're talking about making these big goals for the year or the quarter or the week, whatever it is. But if you just do one little thing every day, that's 365 improvements over a year's time.
And that's huge. That's huge.
And like
heck, at that point, you can call it 365 pivots a year.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it's like you said, cleaning up the showroom for a better customer experience. Those things matter when you're doing a lot of little things. Those add up faster than doing just one big thing.
Absolutely. So, because if you do big things, a lot of times you don't have the payroll to be able to back it. You have to have the money to do big things. So you have to pick the stuff that's in your control and what you can afford. Or if you don't want to spend money on it, there's plenty of stuff to do.
Yeah. Oh, there's always room for improvement.
Like they said, we're always the best employees.
Yeah. I know. Well, until we need a job, and then we're the worst employees, because no one's going to hire an entrepreneur.
No, not at all.
We are set in our ways. Yes, I told somebody that the other day. I was like, my inspiration for keeping this train moving in the right direction is that I know I can't get a job because I'm unemployable as a former business owner. Nobody wants me on their team.
No, not at all.
So after you go through the pivot, your child and everything, what would you say was kind of I say, like, you got your big boy pants on, and now we have what we call a real business. What are some of the things that you would advise or give tips to other business owners?
Never stop learning. The information. I'm not a big reader, and man, I know they say readers are leaders and stuff like that, but it's just, especially when you're looking at now anymore. I miss it. I don't get to work on cars as much as I want to. So I'm looking at a computer. The last thing I want to do is read more things in a book. But that's why, podcasts and just going to places, looking up things. You could, once you stop learning something, you're done. Because especially, my goodness, especially after COVID, when you have to change your marketing standpoint, your customer interaction standpoint, the way you just do business. I mean, there's so many. If you weren't in par with your business and keep learning and wanted to do better and pushing yourself to make those goals and fine tune those goals, you're gonna, the whole purpose of business is obviously make money, but to make money, you have to go forward. You can't stay stagnant. You can't go back. Yes, I can be a counselor, a business owner. I mean, the amount of hats you get, and then right when you think you're past it, you put all the hats in a box and they get all dusty. You got to pull that shit out again and dust them off, and okay, well, let's start from scratch. Next tier up, you got to go. And so I would say just never stop learning on things and experimenting. I've taken obviously mechanic shop's been around for years, ever since cars. In my head, I'm always like, I want to be different. I want to do something different. It's my business, so I can do whatever the heck I want.
Right.
And so, I'm going to take the basic auto repair model, and I'm going to flip it around a couple different directions to take a different stab at it. I want people to have a different. My second shop. Well, once I don't have multiple locations, but when I outgrew the first shop, went to the second shop, I had a recording studio up front. I was subleasing too. I had a clothing line company. I had so many things going on that it sounded like a good idea at the time, not really right now. But at the same time, I was trying to find my different path and my different recipe than what everyone else, the status quo, was doing around me. Because to me, that if I would do something a little bit different, I feel like I have a step up against all my competition, because I could truly say no one else is doing it. No one in a mechanic shop has a recording studio up front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, it just, those type of things. So, because if it's boring and you don't enjoy it, you're not going to want to push it. You're not going to want to scale it. You're not going to want to try to do anything with it. So, you have to add your own flavor to it. I mean, for crying out loud, it's do what you want to do and how you want it, but you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in the product that you're experimenting with. And it may sound crazy to some people, and then I love when people tell me that, because I'm going to run them over with their ideas. So I get off topic a lot. Did I answer that question on that one?
Well, when it comes to business and mindset and learning, there's just so much many rabbit holes you can go down, where it's all good. It's all good stuff. I think every small business owner needs to hear everything that everyone says, even if it's not even related to business, because I'm a big believer that life and business ownership should be integrated. They are integrated. Like, you can't have, it's not like a job. It's not work-life balance. Your business is in your head 24/7. So we have to figure out how to make that work together. Yeah. So anything you say.
Externally, you have to show that difference. Like when you get home to the wife and the kids, the business has to stay at the doorstep. And then, and then when you get to work, the home stuff needs to stop at the doorstep. And it is hard. I mean, I'm going through that right now with our second kid, is trying to have that work-life separation, have that, your head's never shutting off, your mind's never shutting off. But you have to tell the family when you're with the wife, I'm not thinking about work.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just going to put it up. I'm not thinking about work. And then in your head, you're like, okay, what am I doing Monday? What's going on right now? It's all about telling the other people how to. It's like more employees you get, you tend to, you're like, okay, I went from an employer to a counselor.
Yeah. Or a daycare operator.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank God I know how to do sales, because I've talked people off ledges. Yeah. And I think it was me and my own employees, but hey, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Right. Exactly. So is there any frameworks of business? So I know you said you don't like to read. I used to hate reading until one of my first business coaches years ago gave me a book from Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. And I loved it. And now I'm addicted to reading, as long as they fit kind of what I'm looking for. I'm not one reader that can just pick up any business book. Like, it has to be something I'm in the moment, researching or want to learn about. Anything that you've come across, whether it be a book or a audio or a course?
On books, I don't physically read it, but I do audiobooks.
And any of them stand out?
Yeah, the first audiobook that got me on this is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. And a buddy told me about that book. I'm like, just because it has the F word into it, I need to hear this guy out. And when I listened to it, I'm like, wow, it kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and that's kind of what started the whole. I've always been a documentary buff, and especially in business, I'm a big believer that history does repeat itself, and so I like to hear the documentaries from Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford, and see how it was back in the day. I mean, some of the ways that they did business and their mentality and all that. I mean, it's kind of like, man, the generation nowadays just does not work like our grandparents did back in the day. And so I like to listen to those and see what kind of things that they did, or what kind of mentalities they had, or what kind of sayings they had. How can that motivate from me, and what can I take away from that to put up here. But yeah, after that book, then it's like, okay, now I'm buying more things, and I'm listening to them, because I'm all about, I'll listen to the books all day long and listen to podcasts all day long. I'll throw my Bluetooth in and do stuff around the house, yard work and all that. Yeah. I'm just constantly listening to those things, because in my head I'm going, well, I don't want to feel like I'm wasting time. So if I'm listening and learning something, and it gives me an edge on, I may learn one thing after probably 8 hours of listening to stuff on a documentary or a book, but hey, I learned one thing. I didn't know it before. It was freaking worth it. I would say I just started recently too. This is probably another good opinion. Write down the ideas. Because things start flying.
I want to clarify what you said. Write down. So for all you tech people out there, putting it in your phone that you'll never see again, write it down. You'll retain it better. You'll remember it better. It's in front of you. That's just a big tip right there.
Now I'll write it down, but as you can see, my writing is like a doctor's prescription. But then when I come to work, then I'll go through and dissect my hieroglyphics, and I'll separate it down, and I'll if it was an idea I had in any section of my business, I'll put that idea in there under my idea category, and so at that point I hit it twice.
Cool.
And it's just got the mental checklist because
you can't remember everything.
You can't, or sometimes I'll see something. I'm like, that is a damn good idea. Why didn't I think about that? I'm going to try that out, or hear something. So definitely the physical writing it down is huge. It is absolutely huge because you take the time, because when you're writing, you're thinking about it, you're looking at it, and you're physically taking a pen and writing it and making sure you remembered everything that what you're writing down, so it sticks a little bit better.
Yeah, Richard Branson always carries notepad and pen or pencil with him, and he said he writes everything down and goes to every meeting with pen and paper. And he said, "My best ideas come from my past thoughts."
Yep.
So he'll flip through.
It's funny. I got that. I don't mean to cut you off. I got that idea from Richard Branson because I just recently found out I have really bad ADHD, and he has very bad ADHD.
Yes.
And this is why he had to do it is actually write it down. And I'm like, I never thought about that. I did that. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. There were so many. I totally forgot I thought about that after I read it the next day. And so, but yeah, that's definitely true. Definitely true.
Yeah. Those that know me. Everywhere I am or go, I have a notepad in the kitchen. I have one on my office desk. I have one in the bathroom by the nightstand, because you never know when a great thought will come to your mind. And I just write it down, and then it releases stress of trying to remember. Yep. Like for people that have like a dream and they in the middle of the night and they're like, man, that's my $1 million idea. And then they actually wake up the next morning and they're like, what was that idea, man?
I wake up in the morning, 45 minutes on the John, going, what was that? Come back to me, please. Come back to me.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is all awesome stuff. Well, I can't believe we're almost out of time here. We try to hit 40 minutes or so, and we're about there. We haven't even talked about the structure of your business. Any guidance you would give to small business that you feel like really made a significant impact on your business, whether it be kind of the structure or maybe the culture or something that you did that you saw a big effect?
Empower and believe and respect your employees. In a business, when you start getting employees, that is your biggest asset. That is your biggest cost.
Right.
And it's just like in the mechanic world. If you don't take care of your tools, you're not going to make any money. What do you think employees are? They're tools, they're assets. I'm probably a little bit too wide open for my employees, but they all feel they all have a say in this company. They you could tell just when you speak to them, they speak from the heart. And I would say the biggest thing is when you can hire people is don't just treat them like an employee. Out here, you hear a lot. Oh, it's a right to work state. This I'll replace you. No. You can't. Once you invest money into training them and you have money on the line, do whatever you can to keep them, because that right there is your only way to work on the business and not in the business. You can't make time. You have to buy it. And the way you buy it is either automate it or employ it. And you can't automate a mechanic. And they haven't. Elon hasn't came out with that one yet, so hopefully not for a while. But yeah, to me, that was my biggest thing that I make a point of all the time, and take care of as much as I can. And it's hard. It's hard when you want to pay more, you want to offer benefits, and you want to do all this thing, but you can't. That's all right. Just tell your team what your plans are. Tell your team what your future lies, but tell them the next 2 steps, not the next 15 or 20 steps, because then they'll think you're just full of crap and you're not going to reach it within 6 months.
Yeah. And
planning that, brainstorming, planning, and writing those ideas down, that that is so freaking crucial. Have that one-on-one time going through your business, soaking in, look at the small details, write it down of a hit list that you want to accomplish. And then you got to if your team doesn't know where you're trying to shoot or where you're trying to conquer or take over, how are they going to stand behind you and assist you and help you push in that right direction? You'd be surprised how many employees will come up with amazing ideas. I tell them straight up, if I do something bad or you don't like what I'm doing, call me out. But if you call me out, you better damn straight have a better idea to take a different stab at it, because I'm not all about just down talk with no action.
Yeah. You're preaching the gospel there, my friend, because
yes, sir.
I'm like all about communication.
100%.
If you have a goal as a business owner, you need to share that with your team. That's how you empower and get people on board with you. Because if you don't, all they see their future as is where they currently are in your business. So if they're making $20 an hour, in their head, they think I'm always going to make $20. So if another mechanic shop down the street offers me 25, I better take that, because I'm not going anywhere here. But if you share that, communicate, then a lot of times I see where employees will actually hang around, because they're like, that's only $5 more an hour. But here we're going to be a multi-million-dollar company. There's going to be bigger positions, opportunities. And so they'll hang around. We have better fertilizer in our yard. It's not as green as over there yet, but it's going to be growing trees here soon. So I love it. Well, we are just right out of time. Any final words? Well, let me ask this. How can someone get a hold of you, follow you, look you up? Is there any places out there on the internet?
I just have Facebook. So if you look up Callahan Auto and Diesel, or my name, Preston Callahan, message me. I love helping, and I've took my punches. I went through the grime, and if I can help someone steer in the right direction, and hey man, there needs to be more small businesses out there, and I'm all about networking. We all have to work together. There's enough work and business out there for all of us to work together and make this thing happen. And so any way I can help, or if they reach out to you, they want to get in contact with me, let me know. However I can help. When you go through the battle, you kind of want to share it and help somebody.
Yeah, no, amen. For the listeners out there, I'll have all this in the show notes. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're at, if you're listening to this. So any final words of wisdom for business owners? You've given a lot, so you might be out of it, but
no, just don't give up.
Don't give up.
There's a 1.5 million ways to skin a cat. I know that's the wrong thing to say nowadays, but find your way. Don't give up. There's resources out there, the people that will help you. Just like your show. My goodness, this is the people you've had on your show that's there's you can't teach those things. Those are experience. Those are life lessons. Listening to those people, listen to what people have gone through. And it's not everyone has a different walk of life and different business model and all those things, but you can take pieces and parts and help you in the right direction. So just never give up, keep everything tight, keep everyone on the same page, respect everybody. Don't, be humble, push it that way. No one wants to work for a cocky boss. Yeah. And so, it's and if you truly grow from the ground up, all you have is humbleness at the end of the day. So, but I would say that's the best thing, is just don't give up. And if you say you're going to do it, just do it.
Just do it. Just like I said earlier, just take action.
Yep, absolutely.
If you take action, you'll be better than most small business owners.
100%.
Yep. So. Well, you have been awesome. Lots of good stuff. I'm sure you've helped a lot of people today and in the future, for those that listen in the future. So I appreciate you, and we'll catch you around.
Michael, thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure too. Thank you. Welcome to the recap and the Coach's Corner, where I help share actionable advice that can help you implement and grow your business faster. I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Preston. He turned something or nothing into something, and really a fantastic, inspiring story. One of the things that I love that he mentioned over and over repeatedly is there's not one way to build a business. There's not one right way. There's not one wrong way. As long as it's ethical and moral, there's multiple ways of building a business. That's why we own a business. For most of us, it's the freedom. In fact, I know a lot of business owners that actually left their position because they were tired of other people's ways. They had better ways of how they would grow a business. And today you have that option as a small business owner. So one of the things we talked about was learn to earn. When you listen to podcasts, when you read books, when you listen to Audible books, watch videos, make sure you're not following step by step by step. As Preston mentioned, there's no one way to do it. A framework, a step-by-step list that promises you the moon most generally won't work in your circumstances. There's too many things involved. Your team is probably different. Your financial situation is probably different. Your years of business is probably different. The list goes on and on. So what I did many years ago was like what most small business owners do. I'd read something, I'd listen to something, and I'm like, I need to do that, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. I need to check. Versus, what is one thing I can take away from this Audible book? What is one thing I can take from the podcast? And that could be whether it's good or bad. And implement those things. Try them. Explore. That's the opportunity. That's the land of the free, the freedom of owning a business. Try that. Welcome to the Coach's Corner, because now we're going to talk about something that you can actually take and implement in your business. One of the quotes that Preston mentioned today was, you can't make time, you have to buy it. You either automate it or you employ it. I've never heard that before, but that is so true. You can't buy time, but you can streamline future operations so that it saves you time, or you employ it. So maybe you're a business owner that you're working 12, 14, 16 hours a day like Preston was in our episode today. And then he started finding the right people. Now, speaking of people, the right people, this is a big topic at the time of this episode, because there's a lot of business owners that constantly say, I can't find the right people. Well, figure it out. This is your tough love coach. We have two types of business owners. And I'm going to share recent stories. So if you are a client or past client and you're listening to this, I am not singling you out. This happens weekly with business owners. When we talk about, let's get your guiding principles, let's bring some clarity. After a period of time, when they realize they don't have the right team, there's two options that business owners take, two roads. One is they quit. They quit business coaching, they quit learning, they accept the status quo, going, I guess this is the way it's always going to be. Or I want to put my coaching on pause because until I find those right people, this is for nothing. So in other words, they stopped learning. But then we have the other successful business owners that continue going through that grueling process. In fact, I just had one yesterday tell me, we are crushing it now. We have everybody on our team is awesome. And just 3 months ago, my wife and I, we were talking about, are we really doing any good to our business by listening to all these podcasts, going to all these seminars, and having a business coach on staff, which was yours truly. And I mentioned, I think if you look back, I mentioned to them, if you look back, you didn't have the right team. And before that, you didn't have coaching, you didn't have guidance. Now you have the right team because you went through coaching and guidance and did the thing that Preston and I talked about, which is learn to earn. How? Because now you discovered clarity. You know exactly who you need. You know exactly where your business is going. So I challenged him to think about, and many others that have come through this scenario, I challenged him to think about, would you be where you are today had you not taken the time to understand who you need to be successful? Think about that. So always learn to earn. You can never learn enough. If you'd like more small business advice, go to my website, michaeldmorrison.com. We'll see you next time.